The time is 10 a.m. This is WKYT Midmorning. Lexington police are trying to bring a standoff with an armed suspect to a peaceful conclusion.
President Obama readies himself for a trip to Florida, where he'll meet with survivors and relatives of the Orlando shooting victims.
And a Kentucky family visiting Disney World reacts to the terrifying story of a little boy killed at a resort by an alligator.
This is WKYT Midmorning.
Good morning to you and welcome here on Thursday, June 16th. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Barbara Bailey. You can still feel a little steam in the air, can't you?
Rumbles last night and in fact some power outages in Lexington for a time. All that's moved on and now we're left with a hot day before more changes. Here's meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, today we're actually going to be in the upper 80s, lower 90s. So yes, it will be hot. It will be muggy, humid, whatever adjective you want to use. It's going to be there today, and mostly sunny skies for most of us. But let me tell you this, we actually get into the rest of the afternoon as mostly dry conditions. So this is one of those days it's more about the heat than anything else. However, we're still looking at some storms. Not everybody will see those, only a couple of rumbles, but I'm showing you where I expect those coming up in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Micah. Let's get to the news.
We began this mid-morning with a story that broke just after midnight. An armed man holding a woman and two children hostage here in Lexington.
It began this morning on Deauville Drive near Cambridge Drive off Versailles Road. The hostages have now been released, but the suspect is still barricaded inside a house. WKYT's Hillary Thornton has been covering the story since the very early morning hours. She joins us live.
That is right. Police say they are relieved that those three people who were being held inside of that home are now out safely, but they do say it is still a very active situation here with the gunman. Police were called out to Deauville Drive after neighbors heard gunshots just after midnight. When police got to the home, they saw the man had a gun. They say he then fired at least one shot at the officers. Lexington police not firing back, instead taking cover, then securing the area once they saw him go back into that home. The standoff going on ever since then. Police say thankfully there have not been any more shots fired. This all happening with the man's wife and two children, who we are told are both under the age of 12, inside of that house. Now, after a couple of hours, the woman and then one child were released. However, the other child was held inside for more than 7 hours. Now, police going on more than 9 hours at this point. They say that patience is a huge part of their response in these type of situations.
The officers were fired upon and chose not to return fire, and sometimes even taking that extra time to really evaluate the situation can help us make a more informed decision about what course of action we need to take. So our officers, as you said, it's a long process sometimes with these negotiations, but we're hoping for the best outcome for all parties involved.
And police say the emergency response unit's on scene here. It's been on scene for several hours. This happening at a home off of Oxford Circle where I am. They say the fact that conversations with this man inside that home are continuing and negotiations are continuing, they say that is a good sign. For now, live in Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
All right, continuing to buy time at that location. Thank you very much, Hillary. Police are asking people to avoid that area. Some neighbors have been evacuated or told to shelter in place. Officers also have several roadways in that neighborhood blocked off right now. President Obama will be meeting today with survivors and the families of those killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Kenneth Craig is in Orlando with the latest on the investigation, including a revealing post on the suspect's Facebook page.
FBI investigators are methodically piecing together Omar Mateen's movements leading up to the deadly shooting rampage inside the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. A former co-worker said Mateen was a ticking time bomb.
Omar was a deeply disturbed man. He was full of hate, full of rage.
In an ominous Facebook post minutes before the attack, the shooter wrote, "You kill innocent women and children by doing U.S. airstrikes. Now taste the Islamic State vengeance." CBS News sources say Mateen's wife, Noor Salman, knew her husband was planning the attack. She also drove with him to stake out the gay club.
At the end of all of our interviews, however long that takes, if someone is able to be charged in this investigation, we will bring them to justice.
President Obama and Vice President Biden will arrive in Orlando later today to meet with survivors, first responders, and families of the victims killed in the attack.
The first funeral service for one of the shooting victims was held yesterday. In Orlando, family and friends remembered 40-year-old Javier Jorge Reyes. Those who knew him called him a fun, free spirit. Dozens of people gathered across the street to show support. One held a sign that said, "Orlando loves you." Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Orlando.
Now, of the 53 people injured in the shooting, 30 remain hospitalized. The Senate Homeland Security Committee is asking Facebook to provide them with the shooter's online activity. Students and faculty at the University of Kentucky honored the Orlando victims last night with a memorial service on campus. Memorial Hall was illuminated in rainbow colors to show solidarity with the LGBTQ community.
Well, they don't happen very often, but the latest senatorial filibuster lasted nearly 15 hours into the night. In fact, all of this just ended this morning. Senator Chris Murphy and his Democratic colleagues held the Senate floor trying to force Congress to act on gun control legislation. The filibuster was in response to the Orlando attack and how the gunman was able to buy weapons despite having previously been on the FBI terror watch list. The Senate's number 2 Republican, John Cornyn, says he is working with Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein on a compromise proposal. The proposal will seek to block those who pose a terror threat from being able to buy weapons. Both presumptive presidential nominees are also talking about toughening gun laws. Hillary Clinton spoke on the topic, saying if someone is too dangerous to fly on an airplane, they are also too dangerous to buy a gun. Donald Trump also tweeted that when he next meets with the National Rifle Association, he will talk about not allowing people on the terrorist watch list or the no-fly list to buy guns. FBI data shows that people who were on the terror watch list last year were involved in background checks 244 times, and of those cases, 223 were still able to buy firearms.
Beaches at the world's most visited theme park remain closed this morning after a toddler was killed by an alligator. 2-year-old Lane Graves was wading in shallow water at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort when a gator dragged him into the Seven Seas Lagoon. More than 12 hours later, the little Nebraska boy's body was found intact just 15 yards from where he was attacked. Some Kentucky families have been on vacation at Walt Disney World this week, and they say the alligator incident has left them in shock. A Somerset father visiting the park for the first time with his family says it has made him hold on to his young son a little tighter.
I'm just keeping him right here by my side everywhere we go. I don't want to take my eyes off of him for a second.
Now, Disney announced it has since closed all beaches in its resort area out of an abundance of caution following the attack.
A Lexington jury is recommending nearly 50 years in prison for a man now convicted in a 2013 murder. The jury found Mark Taylor guilty in the murder of Alex Johnson. The body of the UK employee was found in a barrel in the Kentucky River. Before the jury reached its decision, the jury recommended a sentence of a total of 49 years. Taylor will be formally sentenced on July 22nd by the judge. An Indiana pastor is behind bars here in Kentucky after he allegedly intended to have sex with a minor here in the Commonwealth. The Attorney General's office says Pastor David Brown was arrested after traveling to Frankfurt thinking he would be having sex with a minor that he'd met online on the internet. Instead, he met an undercover investigator who posed as a minor. Police say Brown is the head pastor of First Christian Church of Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Newly released video is showing more of the arrest of UK basketball player Derek Willis. He was charged with public intoxication in Boone County over the weekend. Now, as you can see in this dash cam video, Willis was found passed out while lying in the street next to an open driver's side door of a car. Willis admitted to having a lot to drink, and when asked where he was, he could only say Northern Kentucky. Well, keep it right here this mid-morning. Coming up, cities in central and southeastern Kentucky get a taste of the Hollywood treatment.
We'll have that. And also, Matthew McConaughey helps bring a little-known Civil War story to the big screen.
The front is still much toward the west, or toward the north, that is. It's heading our direction, but it's going to take its time. So it's really hot today. A couple of rumbles of thunder. I'm going to show you all that coming up next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Well, we're looking across the area and seeing dry conditions. Now, I say dry in terms of rain falling out of the sky. When I'm talking about dry, I'm not talking about moisture, because it is downright sticky outside. We're going to have that all day long. This is your last day, though, of the muggies outside. There's a front to the north of us, and it's pushing off these thunderstorms off toward the east, not toward us, but away from us. However, once we get a little deeper into the afternoon, this gets a little bit closer, so we'll see that move toward the east. And this front slowly but surely head toward our region. Now, the front won't actually make its way through until tonight and into tomorrow morning. However, you'll get that prefrontal stuff that comes flying through here. It's kind of like what we saw yesterday, except for it's not as widespread. I mean, that was deep off into the evening, but today is not a good chance of rain. We're talking mid-70s already. Already 80 degrees in Bell County in southern Kentucky. Check that out. That is not fun right there. And it's very sticky too. A lot of moisture outside. Any storms that do fire away, I would expect those to be heavy rain, lightning, maybe some gusty winds in there. But if you're looking for a severe weather chance, well, I don't know anybody that's looking for one, but the severe weather chance that we have for today is far southeastern Kentucky. You get into the mountains. Go into the mountainous regions. That's your best bet. Other than that, it really is just a smaller chance of rain today. So here's the outlook of it. And I talked about it this morning that this would change. We showed you a different look, a different graphic, because these are actually from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, that actually put out the marginal risk, the slight risk, whether it's advanced, moderate, or high. That comes from Norman, Oklahoma, well back toward the west, but that's the Storm Prediction Center. That's all they look at, storms. And this is the outlook they have put out. I still expect really just this area. I mean, this marginal risk right through here, I wouldn't be surprised if that's taken off and moved out of the region, because there's just not a great chance of rain today except for southeastern zones. I see absolutely no models putting rain back toward any farther west than, say, Perry County or Clay County, Breathitt County. We'll see how it turns out, but as of right now, I'd say far southeastern zones. That's our only bet at maybe seeing a couple of isolated strong or severe cells. Tomorrow, there's a small chance of rain. I'd say mainly eastern Kentucky, but it's about the temperatures. 82 degrees there on Friday, guys. There for the weekend, we're talking mid-80s. Great for all the vents and all dads out there. And great for mowing the grass, too, heading off towards your weekend. Because a lot of us have picked up some rain. You'll start to see that grass grow pretty quickly.
So that's how you can celebrate Dad's Day. Mow your own lawn.
That's right.
All right.
I can't get my 2-year-old to do it.
Oh, come on. Work on him.
All right. Well, filming for a highly anticipated movie made a stop in Harlan County this week. The movie is called Above Suspicion, and the crew recently did some filming here in Lexington as well.
It tells the story of an FBI agent convicted of strangling his informant in Pike County. Some storefronts in Harlan were recreated to make them look like Pikeville in the late 80s and early 1990s. The film crew wrapped up its work in Harlan yesterday, and now will be moving to other areas around the state. But it was kind of a back-in-time day for them, and a lot of people in Harlan said they really enjoyed the attention and the excitement in town.
How much fun to have that movie set right there in the middle of downtown. That was great. Well, Matthew McConaughey tells a true story most Americans never heard, plus something new from Oprah.
And an actress heads to the United Nations. Daniel Nottingham has your eye on entertainment.
Anne Hathaway is starring in a new role. The actress will be Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women. It's an office of the United Nations that promotes gender equality and economic empowerment. The Oscar winner says she feels honored and inspired. The Grammy Awards have signed on for another 10 years with CBS. The network has been home to the music industry's biggest night since 1973. With the new agreement, it will add up to 54 consecutive broadcasts, the longest continuous partnership between an award show and broadcaster in TV history. Oprah Winfrey is sharing her kitchen secrets in her very first cookbook. The talk show star says she worked with chefs to create healthier versions of her favorite meals. The book is scheduled for release in January. And Matthew McConaughey stars in a Civil War movie that tells a true but little-known story.
We declare the land north of Pascagoula Swamp to be a free state of Jones.
In Free State of Jones, McConaughey is a poor Mississippi farmer who leads a rebellion against the Confederacy.
He created this free state of Jones where he lived in a fully multiracial community and made his own constitution. Number one on the Constitution being, if you can stand on two legs, you a man.
Free State of Jones opens June 24th. And that's your eye on entertainment. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And we hope you keep it here on Mid-Morning on WKYT.
That's right. Tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot is $310 million, and Saturday's Powerball jackpot is $169 million.
Great to have you here on WKYT. It's an elegant evening with dinner, drinks, live music, and more, and it is all to help in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society is holding its annual Bells and Bows Ball.
We're joined now by Heather Coleman, Bells and Bows Chair, to learn more about it. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you guys for having me.
I know you've been planning hard, getting ready for this, so what can people expect this year?
We have been. Well, the good news is we're now in our third years of Bells and Bows, so we get a little bit better every year. Some of the stuff is still the same. We do dinner, drinks, dancing. We have some live music. This year will be provided by a local group called the Wooks. We have a live and silent auction, and we have a few little surprises that I can't talk about yet, but it should be a good time for everyone.
Makes it a really great evening. Along with all of the fun that you're having, it's for such an important cause, a time to honor and remember those who've been affected by cancer.
Yes, we're very fortunate. The American Cancer Society has one of the few Hope Lodges here in Lexington, Kentucky, and it's the only one that's in the state. So this is a big deal because it's the largest fundraiser that they do in the state. The money goes back to Central Kentucky. It's the largest fundraiser for the Hope Lodge, and the hopes are to help people get well, stay well, fight back and find cures. So we want everyone to come and have a good time and know that you can do charitable good and you can have a great time while you're doing it.
You can feel good about
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know you're very vested in this and you have worked on it hard. How do you assure people out there, you know, that the cause is really the focus of what's going on?
So I am involved because my mother right now is stage 4 metastatic cancer. She has been for 3.5 years, and miraculously she's still around. And if you have ever dealt with cancer or if you've been afflicted with it, there is this really strange, I want to be able to do something moment that goes with it. And I was lucky enough to have friends that work with the American Cancer Society who suggested maybe I get involved with charitable works. I am the kind that does research, and so what I wanted was a group that I, one, knew was giving back to the community that I lived in, two, that I could follow the money. So if you have someone, the nice thing about the American Cancer Society is it doesn't matter what kind of cancer someone is affected with. You can put money towards however you want to do it here. If it's research, that's your thing. For example, ours is kidney cancer research, and my mom, you know, there was only one medication for her when we started, so that was a big deal for me. And so in looking around, this group really was involved in the local community. I knew that the Hope Lodge was doing good. I knew that they had funded 47 Nobel Peace Prize winners for research against cancer, and that's how I decided to get
your
involved.
research.
Yeah, yes. I totally understand what you mean. It is. We're all in the fight.
The big event is August 6th, 6 p.m. until midnight at the hangar at R.J. Corman, the Railroad Group, and bellsandbowslexington.org for more info.
Yes, and we hope to see everybody there.
Thanks
Get our tickets now. Thank you very much. Good luck with it.
And keep it here now on WKYT.
Welcome back. In the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, they've discovered another way to use those ruby red tomatoes.
And they're a great summer value, so check out summer's best tomato pie.
The other day, I was so excited when I saw freshly picked tomatoes at the market. I'm talking about tomatoes that really taste like tomatoes and not ones that just look pretty. So today, I'm naming tomatoes the best food buy of the week. As a matter of fact, for the whole summer. I know we all have a long list of ways to use them, but we came up with a new and sort of unusual way that I want to share with you. We start by whisking together an egg, heavy cream, a bit of mayo, some shredded mozzarella, and some spices. We set that aside for a sec while we slice a handful of ruby red tomatoes and stack them in a par-baked pie crust. Now we pour the cream mixture over them and sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese before popping it in the oven until it passes the toothpick test. When this comes out of the oven all melty delicious, we want to let it cool slightly before digging in. I can promise that's not going to be an easy task. But once you taste how fresh and creamy it is, I know you're going to want the recipe for what we call Summer's Best Tomato Pie. And it's online now. This is the perfect recipe to take advantage of all those freshly picked tomatoes. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a fresh picked way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Tomato pie. I don't know about that, but
Yes, that would be
might be
great.
worth a try.
I think it would be great. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so let's look at our temperatures. We're at 91 later on this afternoon, upper 80s, lower 90s. And it's going to be a warm one to start. Look, it's more about the temperatures today than the thunderstorms. You will have a few rumbles of thunder. That's mainly for the southeast guys. We're going to talk about that. Also, when this front moves through tonight and into tomorrow, big time feel. It's going to be a big difference in the forecast. We'll show you that coming up.
And a
All
good
right.
feel.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for WKYT Mid-Morning, and we will see you back at noon, hopefully.
Your news always on at WKYT.com.